G'day guys, Mackie with the Outer Circle, and today I want to talk to you about one of Games Workshop's worst business practices. Prices? No. Changing Space Marines to Primaris Marines? No. Repeatedly employing Matt Ward? Probably, but no. No, one of their worst actual business practices in my mind is the fact that there is no written policy on how stores will actually integrate Forge World into their events. Now, whether it's games, whether it's painting competitions, whether it's building them, doesn't matter. The only policy that there is that it's up to each Games Workshop's individual store manager to decide whether or not they'll allow it. I have some big fucking problems with this, but before we go into my problems, let's talk about some reasons why. First of all, building resin models in a Games Workshop. Resin can be very nasty to your health. It's carcinogen. It means causes cancer. Not something you really want to be filed and sanded and all that kind of stuff, especially around young kids. Also, if you're an individual store manager, you don't make any commission off selling Forge World products because you don't sell any Forge World products generally. There's the occasional Tribune maybe that comes through, but that's definitely not the normal. Lastly, kids might come in, want a certain model, and be disappointed that it's not stocked there, and go home sad, souring their hobby experience. Let's look at each of these arguments one by one, and try and talk about why they're such bullshit. First, resin and working on it in stores. Unfortunately, fine cast still exists. It's still a thing. Before that, it was white metal. Before that, it was lead. If we're going to talk about how toxic things are right now, we need to say that things have always been toxic, and all we can do is mitigate it to the best possible. Whilst I don't think it is necessary for people to build their models in a Games Workshop store, some people do enjoy doing it. Me personally, I prefer to work on more complex resin models at home, and then if I were to go into a Games Workshop store without bursting into fucking flames, I would then paint it there, if I was so inclined, just for the social atmosphere. That's probably the best compromise in this situation. But let's look at the two more important ones. First, the fact that a manager makes no commission off it. This is true. However, a manager will only make a commission off things they sell. And there's plenty of things that you can buy from Games Workshop that aren't sold in their stores. How many things? Well, let's look at how many units are online only. This is the Space Marines page on their website. We have pretty much any limited edition books or codexes, Legion of the Damned, which are pretty cool miniatures. Let's just state that. Primaris Marine Hero Bundle, Thunderfire Cannon and Tech Marine, Whirlwinds for some reason, Tech Marines and Servitors, Chaplain Grimaldus, so, fuck you to the Black Templar players, the old school veterans and their two different kits, all this kind of stuff, Masters of the Chapter, Tyrannic War veterans, White Scars Commander. As you can see, quite a lot of the Space Marine range that I've just rattled off, online only, and there's plenty more. And it's not just Space Marines, it really affects some ranges more than others. So, if people are going to buy these things online, only thing that might make them purchase from Games Workshop is if they can only get it at a Games Workshop. This might include models that are Games Workshop exclusives, because not every third-party retailer gets given Games Workshop models. For those that do get given Games Workshop models, they're going to pick up most sales. Why? Because people, especially people my age, not so much kids, if they're going to shop online for models, we're going to go to where it's cheapest. eBay, third parties, that kind of thing. Because I'd rather get a 15% discount than have to go into a Games Workshop. Let's look at the last point. The last point is, little Timmy comes in to play a game, sees someone's got some cool models, they're Forge World models, and he's really disappointed because he can't buy them, goes home sad. Cry every time. Well, here's the thing. All those models that I just mentioned are Games Workshop exclusives, such as Legion of the Damned. Legion of the Damned, they're pretty fucking cool. I used to love the originals back in like 2nd and 3rd edition era when I was a kid. They're covered in skulls and have flames and, it's just cool imagery, right? Well, the only way he's getting them is if he goes online, which he can do to buy Forge World anyway. What about if it's an event-only exclusive miniature or a model that you can only get from a place like Warhammer World? There's a plastic Land Raider and Rhino Command Tank variant upgrade kit you can buy from Warhammer World if you go over to the UK. Can't get that here in Australia. Someone rocks up into a store like that, there's no chance in hell that little Timmy's getting that unless he's going to fly all the way to the UK. So, massive problems here with that whole theory. Let's look even deeper at the problem. Stores are also, how do I put this delicately, hypocritical. Some stores have a no Forge World policy, just outright blanket ban. But in their front window, they got resin Thunderhawks. And you're like, hang on a minute, what's the go with this? In fact, there was pictures I was sent from one Games Workshop store showing exactly that. I've been sent screenshots, I've been sent pictures of people's conversations with store managers, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to release the gritty details because it doesn't matter. It's all just individual experiences people have had. But this is how I build up my opinion on something. There are stores where they say half your models have to be minimum of Games Workshop stuff in your army in order to use a Forge World army in Games Workshop. Some people are happy with you to use as much Forge World as you like, and I know plenty of managers like that, and they're good blokes. They're the sort of people that want to build and encourage the hobby no matter what. But these penny pinchers who want to sit there and say no Forge World at all in our store, while having fucking Thunderhawk on display in their front window, that's pretty bad. That's pretty hypocritical of them. Take, for example, things like Mark IV Space Marines. Some store managers that I know of have complained about having Space Marines in Mark IV in their store because they're Forge World models. How is it any different to the Mark IV Space Marines in plastic? Do you think a kid playing the game for the first time is going to look at these two models and say, oh no, those are completely different models, they're nothing alike? Oh no. Of course not. They're going to look at them and say, yeah, they look pretty bloody similar. They're probably not even going to notice different armor marks to start with. They're going to see some subtle differences, but they're not going to ask questions about it, are they? I mean, look how many cool miniatures Forge World actually makes. How many different models people could be using. What about specialist games? Does that count as Forge World only? Can you not play Blood Bowl? Oh, you can play Blood Bowl, but what about if you use teams that you can only buy through Forge World, not Games Workshop? Like your star characters, your star players, that kind of thing. No. It's all bullshit. Forge World and Games Workshop and the head management need to sit down and just say, Forge World is allowed in a Games Workshop store, deal with it. It can't be a balance issue because balance has been fucked in 40k and Warhammer Fantasy and whatever for so long, it doesn't really matter at this point. Forge World's often had better balance than Games Workshop anyway. There's a few notable exceptions, don't get me wrong, but I mean, when you're comparing things like, look at 7th edition Eldar from Games Workshop. You want to tell me there was more broken stuff than that consistently coming out of Forge World? I don't think so. What we need to do is actually have a rule set out in stone and why Forge World's allowed in Games Workshop stores. It's something manufactured by the same company. It's something sold at a similar price point. It often incorporates the same plastic kits to some degree inside it. Part of my frustration comes from the fact that when it comes to Forge World kits, if you're going to say that they're not actually allowed to be used in the store, essentially you're saying that your product is worthless. Why? Because you're not allowed to paint it, you're not allowed to enter it into official competitions. Oh, sorry, you can paint it, but you can't paint it in the store, is what I mean to say. You can't enter it in official competitions, you can't bring it into the Games Workshops to play games with. So what are you buying? Are you buying something that you can only build at home, only use at home, and can only sit on your own shelf at home? If someone can only do that with these models, why should they be paying, say, I don't know, £150 for a fucking Predator Executioner Squadron, for example? They shouldn't have to. Because you're telling them that it's only useful in their own home. It's a display-only model, essentially. That's a big fuck you to the players. You're telling them that their investment is worth less, something they've spent their hard-earned money on. What they've gone out, the money they've earned, and you're telling them, no, that thing you legally brought from our company, that thing that we've told you is, fully compatible with our game system, yeah, well, the individual store manager you deal with decides otherwise. This might not be a big problem in countries like, Germany, the UK, where you've probably got a higher proportion of hobby stores, and you have a much better, more well-developed public transport system where you can probably go to a different Games Workshop pretty easily. Me, however, my closest Games Workshop's 130 kilometres away. Next closest one to that's about 35 kilometres away from that. So, if I want to go from one Games Workshop to another, I'm in for a big travel time. In fact, people I spoke to on Facebook even told me that they were looking at travel times of 40 minutes to 2 hours, depending, to go to a different Games Workshop that actually would let them use their Forge World miniatures. I suppose the point of all this is that Games Workshop needs to get their shit in order. Either your Forge World stuff is compatible or it's not. If it's not, I think you owe every single person that's ever purchased your fucking models a refund. Because you're selling them something that they're not allowed to use to its full potential. And if it is something that is allowed to be used to its full potential, set it in stone. Get rid of these fucktard managers in your stores who can't actually please the player base and who care more about their profit line than building their hobby. Because they're fucking cancerous to your company. I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. I'll see you all next time.